Welcome. This is the Bold Business Podcast. Your business has many directions it can travel. The one true direction of your company creates the journey for you to move toward a new, exciting level. We call this the red direction. In today's program, we delve into one idea. The idea will support you as you work on ever-present situations, including how to stay competitive in a changing market, how to break through the business plateau, and how to anticipate the changing expectations of your stakeholders. Jess Dewell is your guide. Jess brings you a 20-year track record of business excellence where strategy and operations overlap. Your path comes from consistently working from this special place, your unique true north. Now, here's Jess.
Hi, everybody. It is the Bold Business Podcast, and we are live streaming on this Tuesday. And guess what? I can't wait to tell you about our guest today. But first, I want you to know that our conversation is all about being a goal-getter every time. Every time. And how do we do that? Through life, through transition, through ups and downs. Well, we're going to better understand achievement through the dialogue that we're going to have today and dig into, no pun intended there, how to get to the goals that we set. And, you're in the right place for this type of a conversation to increase not only your capacity, but the capacity of yours around you by the way that you show up. Now with me today is Marie Hale. She brings more than 20 years experience of entrepreneurial and small business experience with her to this conversation. She's helping clients catapult from $100,000 a year up to 8 figures in under a year, double their revenue during pandemics, and, well, hopefully there's only one. I did make that plural. That was not a good idea. Let's just go.
We're just going to roll with it. That's the way life is right now.
Thank you. And to be able to put yourself back into the role that you want to make the impact you want day to day. I'm so glad you're here, Marie.
Jess, I will take any 2 minutes with you I can get. This is the most fun I've ever had, and we're only beginning.
Right? That's so true. And thank you for that. And for all of those of you out there, I'm Jess Dewell. I host the Bold Business Podcast, and I'm a strategic business advisor. So that's all I'll say because I want to get to this conversation with Marie. Let's have some fun. I know right before we were talking about unicorns and sparkle and bedazzled and and showing up like an adult. I know they're all related somehow.
Show up like a grown-up. Let's do it.
Right. That's right. Show up like a grown-up. That is a way better tagline.
I will have to say I possibly got that from Dr. Phil subliminally, listening to it while my mother watched it and I tried to rebel, but it got in there, and it's pretty good. It's a pretty good saying, because if you're not going to show up like a grown-up for yourself or for your business and take 100% responsibility for whatever's happening, because you're the filter that everything goes through, you can kind of kiss your goals goodbye, right?
You said it way better than I think I could have. I know if you go to my website and look around, I think I say it's 100% your responsibility in like 6 or 7 different places. And then I show up and I'm so fun but I'm also very direct. And in that funness, it is, if I wasn't direct, I wouldn't be doing my job. Right. And I think you've got the same thing going for you.
Yeah. And it's like some people respond to it and some people don't respond quite so well. And that's okay. Really interesting. It's really interesting. But I think that, if we're working with the kind of achievers that we want to work with and the kind of people that are going to be change makers.
Yes.
Those are people that are on the path already, man. Like they've done some personal development work. They've done a couple of workshops. God bless you if you've survived a Tony Robbins session while he smacks the air. What is he doing with this? I've never understood. But when you get into that goal setting space, you tend to find people that have tried it out in a few different capacities. Maybe they've seen success, maybe they haven't, but rarely do I find people that have been able to make it personal for them.
Or maintain. I mean, it's not sustainable for most people is what I find, is that they end up being a source of rah and inspiration, yet once that inspiration runs out, they're exactly where they were before.
Right. And so what have you found that is the slipperiest slope out of goal setting or achievement?
Yeah. You know, that's a really good question. And I was going to ask you that, so I didn't prepare an answer. You asked first, though.
With that.
Yeah. And I would say the slippery slope is looking for other people to keep us motivated, totally and completely.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to challenge that a little bit.
Please do.
Because if we're looking for other people to keep us motivated, now outside of our control.
That's what I mean. That's why it's a slippery slope.
So one of the things, so there's two things that I always see.
Yeah.
One is that people do not include their personal goals in their goal setting. And
that's weird.
People make decisions based on emotion and back of logic.
Yes.
And if they've got a compelling reason to do something, it's personal and emotional. And only sometimes is it financial.
Yeah, that's true.
Right. And if you don't get to the personal and emotional, you don't have a sale. Or at least you don't have a sale worth it.
Right.
The same goes for your goals. If it's not personal and emotional, you're not committed to it. Who wants to go make a ton of money so it can sit in the bank and do nothing? Done. Right.
Right.
So and I was just working with one of my my young mentees today, which that always just sounds weird. I picture a manatee and it's uncomfortable. I was working with him yesterday and I was trying to hit this point home and telling him, like, you've got to put your goals in an active present tense. Mm-hmm. If your brain does not feel the celebration of what you've done, it's not going to resonate with terms like I'm learning an entire product of catalogs. That's not sexy. That's not fun. Who wants to do that?
Okay, so to your point about personal, and that's maybe one of the reasons I went external, because I'm thinking about this and I'm listening to you and I'm like, absolutely, because that's the biggest in leadership teams. It's the first thing that fails. If there isn't, and we use this word buy-in, and I don't particularly like buy-in. I like commitment better. We expect buy-in, but we don't ever ask for commitment. We don't ever start having the conversation about, well, why would this be important to you? How can you show up and help make this happen? We're never asking those types of questions. So I'm, in that organizational route, which is another reason I think I said that external. We're looking for one person, usually the seller founder, usually a founding team, that is expected to bring all of the motivation for everybody else. But then they can't actually go do the goal achieving that for everybody else, can they?
Right. We can show you how to do the push-ups, but we can't do them for you.
That's right.
So my partner who passed, Jim, he was my guru. He was my sales coach when I was 25. We were together for 13 years before we became a family. And when we became a family, like Jack Canfield's The Success Principles was a Bible. We would read it once a year.
Yeah.
And we would use it in our coaching and all of those things. And so we became like, our family was a goal-setting family. I actually found a daycare that was based on the 7 habits of highly effective people.
Okay, that's fantastic.
I know. And then, she was 3, so it didn't matter. But
hey, the osmosis of leading by example works really well at 3, honestly.
Not so well at 9, though.
No, not at 9. I believe that completely, because I have a 9-year-old too. Yeah, for a few more days, then he turns 10. But it's so true. So let's think about this. So you've now pulled out 2 resources. The Success Principles by Jack Canfield and Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Now, these both are systems.
Yes. And they're systems to work.
Yes. They create the framework, the place to play with that.
Right.
Now, go ahead.
Well, and like the beautiful part though is that Stephen Covey was alive, I don't know, 50 years ago?
Yes.
But it still rings so true because it's Stephen Covey and Benjamin Franklin, which if you know Benjamin Franklin on any scale, he was one of the most high achieving humans
Yes.
in history. And
Right.
he used to task out and time block when he would wake up and when he would go poop and when he would talk to his friends. And he made sure that he addressed every section of his life so that he stayed in balance, so that his roles were maintained, so that he could achieve. And what I love about that is, and I don't know if there's any business owners out there that experience this or any leaders that have this white noise that is constantly circling the back of your brain of all of the things that you're supposed to keep doing and right?
Right.
It doesn't calm down until your brain, it's like being a bartender and you're shaking the drink and like 17 people walk in. You're like, all right, I got you next and I got you next. And then everybody calms down.
Yep.
The same thing happens in your brain.
Yep.
When you say, I see you, I see you, I see you, you're written down, which if you write it by hand, it stores differently in your mind than if you type it.
Mm-hmm.
Write it out. Your brain goes, oh, she's got that. I can let it go for a second. And you get to be present.
Yes. It's huge. That space. Okay, so I know you have a system and I have a system. I think we need to share a little bit about those. You've alluded, by the way, so I know a little bit about you, Marie. So I know where I want to go next, which is, when did you decided you're a goal-setting family, right? You and Jim, goal-setting family. And it's something that you're passing on to your daughter, this concept of goal setting and keeping all of these places. And you have all of these examples. When has your system for goal setting been tested? And how and when, and the outcomes and the results and all of it?
Yeah. So, well, the first time it got tested was when Jim challenged me to, he said, I see you want to lose weight. Let's set a goal for that. How about you do naked jumping jacks in 6 months at 5:30 p.m. on July 31st?
I love that.
Yeah, it was motivational.
Yes.
Because if you think of all of your lovely wiggly parts, wiggling for the cutest boy you've ever known.
Uh-huh.
That'll get you to do some stuff, let me tell you.
Mm-hmm.
You work out the lift them up muscles, the hold them down muscles, you find all of them. But we had been in this habit of planning for so long, and we planned our year, and then we would plan our month, and we would plan our week, and we would plan our day. And so when we decided to merge our businesses after trading business back and forth for 10 years and really start a family business, right, there was a lot of planning that went into it beforehand, right? Like we were experienced business owners. We knew what to expect. And so we wrote out all of our plans and our goals and the timelines. And the most amazing thing was that we surpassed our first year goal in 3 months. Boom, like just unbelievable growth. And so, we've got all of these things that are happening, and we've got this bombshell of a baby girl that's 5 years old, and every morning we would walk her to the train, or we would walk her to daycare, and then we would get on the train and go to our little office, and then we would take the train back together. And it was just this amazing life with this person that I was in love with since I was like a kid. He was my guru. And then there was one day when I was in the office late, and I got a call from her daycare because he didn't pick her up. And when we got home, we found him passed. And that was 7 months after we'd opened the business. And if you've ever gone through grief, you know that it comes with this fog, and things don't make sense, and pieces are everywhere. And I had about 3 weeks to figure out if I was going to keep our family business alive. And I decided that I would take on his role and continue to teach the curriculum we'd spent 10 years putting together, and keep the business going and just keep walking. And about 4 months after that, I had cancer in the middle of my face. And they removed about a cigar butt from between my lip and my nose. And I decided to put on my lipstick and keep going. And there were most of the time, I can't really say I knew where my feet were landing. But at the end of that year, as I was going through the things we always did, I looked back at those 1-year goals, and I had achieved every one of them according to the timeline that we had set, even though I wasn't doing the things that I always done. Because there was this practice of emotionally connecting with where you wanted to be and getting that kind of beautiful addiction to achievement, and not huge achievement, just little pieces that you can count as wins. I had gotten there even when I couldn't see. And that is such an amazing testament to the power of intention and goal setting and starting those practices when things are great and keeping them going when, I don't know, the entire world burns down outside of your door and everybody's like, oh, I haven't been outside in 10 months. Those things still hold you together when you can't hold it together yourself. And so I keep out there waving my Franklin Covey at people from across the room, because this system, this goal setting experience has been what's kept me together as a business owner and as a mom and as a soul in this world.
Right. And, you know, and that's what that's what we fall back to. We fall back to what we know in times of stress. And because you had cultivated that,
right,
you experienced success in spite of everything else. And, you know, I think about my system, which is a little different than what yours is. And so before I share mine, I want to ask you, you know, in your system, you talked about monthly, weekly, daily, and you're still doing that monthly, weekly, daily.
I am.
Yeah.
I am. Mm-hmm. And especially, you know, I mean, I'm a single mom. Yeah. He turned 9 yesterday. It's a glorious and adorable age to be home schooling your child for the first time, because I super planned on being a 3rd grade teacher. But having those kinds of systems to lean back on, oh my gosh, that daily prioritization and saying, like, this is the absolute must do. Must.
Yep.
Being honest with yourself about the shit you can really kind of do tomorrow, and nobody's going to fall out of the sky and die.
Yeah, that's right.
And then, oh my gosh, when you get to that like C level stuff, if you get through A and B and knock a C off of your list, which is like, okay, sweet baby Jesus, if I get it done this week, it's fine.
Right.
Like, you're just like, you're a champ. You're going into dinner time like you're Rocky.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I totally get that. And I do. It's interesting because I think I go about it a little differently. I don't do, like, for myself and for the goals that I have for this. And I do mix in my pups in the background. You'll hear, I do mix in work and personal in this. I just do them at different times. The first is that, I take almost an entire day once a week to only plan, assess, dream, evaluate, decide. And the reason I do that is because then when I'm in the day-to-day, I have a better idea of what are the must-dos each day to keep on track. What are the things to follow up on with the team that must stay on track? And then as things change or shift, or stuff blows up around us in different ways. It could be exhaustion. It could be a client. It could be a pandemic and working from home differently with everybody else too. All of that stuff can really cause its own kind of exhaustion and tiredness and distraction. And so in the day-to-day, over the years, I have actually become really good at understanding that can I answer this and make a decision now? Or do I need to wait until my next, I call them present retreats, my present retreat.
Oh, I love that.
Isn't that great? And that's exactly what it is, because there's so many different words depending on what I needed. Sometimes I need to retreat and take stock. Sometimes it's a peaceful time where I get to be more brainstormy and big picture. And other times I just have to relax into whatever's showing up. And right. So I think there's all kinds of different ways that we can wrap ourselves into this present retreat. And so what I have found in my system is that usually during the week, if I have to make a decision, the answer is no.
Is it a knee-jerk no?
No, it's a clarity. It doesn't really fit and I don't have to think about it. No.
I love that.
And that is a skill that we all need more of, and to be confident in that without second guessing it. It took me a long time to get to that. But by doing that, I get to say no more because I'm so clear on where things are going that when I do say yes, then I know there's going to be an impact, even if I have no idea how it's going to fit in. And yeah.
And so like what actually got me started on my journey to like the goal setting was Lily's dad, my ex-husband, he had a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old when we met, and I was 24.
Yeah.
So I knew everything. It was great. But I realized, I think I was maybe 26 or 27. And at that point I owned a belly dancing company. I owned a medical spa, and I was doing something else as well. I think I was bartending or doing something. I don't know. I like to stay busy, Yeah. But I realized that all my stepdaughter saw was me leaving.
Yes.
And when I had to look at the roles that I play and the people that I'm responsible to in each one of those roles, it suddenly became very not okay with me. Yeah. And thank God I got that message when I was 24, 25, that every yes that I said to something else was a no to them. And I was like, cool, not okay.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Hey, everybody, just a quick check-in. You are listening to the live stream version of the Bold Business Podcast, and we're talking about achievement. We're talking about goal setting. We're talking about systems. We're talking about showing up when the world dumps on us and being able to succeed in spite of that with Marie Hale. And you know what? I want to say thanks, Marie, for sharing the stories you shared so far. So if you've missed it, you'll get to watch later. I know you will. And listen later on Thursday if you like as well. And we have the power within us is what I've taken away from this conversation. And so how do we claim that next? And I want to pick up exactly where you just left off, Marie, which is when I say yes to something, I say no to something else. And being very clear about what I'm saying no to, or what we are saying no to. Oh, I wish I had learned that earlier.
The problem is I keep learning it. And I really only like to try to learn things once. But life is hard. Life is hard. And it's going to throw you all kinds of curveballs.
And nothing's ever the same. I'll be real. Right? I mean, the skills we bring to the table can be the same. The systems that we can lean into can be the same, because life will never be the same.
And that's why you need systems, because the right systems fortify you as a whole person and not just a business entity.
Right.
And so, I think the other thing that I've seen over and over and over again is a lack of specificity. Right?
Yep.
I've worked with so many husband and wife couples, and I will tell you, I do sales coaching. I do not do marriage therapy. I am the last person you want to be asking about that stuff. But inevitably, somebody will come through and be like, oh, I want more intimacy in our relationship, or I wish we had better communication. Cool. How are you going to measure it? What does that feel like to you? What are the KPIs?
That's right.
Of intimacy? And they kind of look at you like, I'll just know it when I get there. No, you won't.
The grass will always be greener.
Right? And
it'll never work out.
Is somebody's going to work like a dog to make you happy, and you didn't know what it was going to take to make you happy. And so you get there and then you don't realize it and you slide right back out.
Yep.
And the part is then usually you blame it on the other person.
It's true. And if we don't want to look at our personal relationships, we can look at our work ones.
Mm-hmm.
If nobody will be part of our management team, if we keep losing key people on our leadership team, if we have high turnover, there's something going on, and we really need to hold up that mirror. And by the way, I'll bet you whatever you find in the mirror at work is going to be very similar to what you find in the mirror at home.
Yes, yes, yes.
And so that concept of the systems and being able to measure is huge, because you do have to have I call it the beginning, the middle, and the end. You have to have a start line. You have to have a finish line. And if you're doing this with somebody else, you have to make sure you're all at the same start line. Because if you're not even starting in the same place, how can you end in the same place?
You're absolutely right. And so how do you get people to find their level?
Tell me more about what you mean by level.
How do you get them to start in the same place?
Oh, people don't like it. I talk a lot. I don't know if you know this about me, Marie, but people tell me I talk a lot. I listen twice as much as I talk. So there is that too. I'm just like, I don't know what that means for the amount that's happening. There's always information coming in. And so it's the nugget of when we are talking about, well, what is our starting line? There has to be something that anchors us together, that common bond. And usually it's our mission, or it's our vision in a company, or it's what we want to do in the partnership of our home life, our outside of work life. And do we have the same goals around intimacy and connection and achievement there as we do at work? And how do you have those conversations? So realistically, it's courage to say what you want. First, whoever's going to hold the vision and whoever's going to hold the mission has to say, this is what I want, and here's the starting line. And then the dialogue has the opportunity to happen. So courage to say, here's what I want. And then a willingness to hear, oh, that's not quite what you want. So how do we find what we want? And that can become our starting line. But it takes a dialogue. Sometimes it seems scary.
Yeah. People are not used to having really authentic conversations. And you can't do goal setting unless you're willing to strip down a little bit.
Be real. I know.
Vulnerability is so powerful, especially right now when we've all been through grief. The pandemic was people grieving. They had lost family members. They had lost their lifestyle. They had lost their choices. That was grief, and it was palpable. And unless you've been through grief, you don't really see it for what it is.
Right.
But I watched people go through all of the emotional stages of grief. And that thing that they tell you about the 5 stages of grief, that's actually for people who are dying, not for people who have loved ones that die.
Yeah.
Completely different if you've lost something.
Yeah.
And so like when you see people going through this fog and you see them trying to, and I'm not going to say the 1 P word, I'm going to say pirouette in their business. Anymore. And everybody's spinning and everybody's doing their very best to stick to the values they said they had before COVID hit. And show up the way they always thought they should show up. And the exhaustion and that veneer that everybody kind of walks around with of, the networking face.
Yeah.
Everything's amazing.
Yes.
Thanks so much for asking. And I go into my Moira Rose voice because it's just so preposterous that people still do this. But the pandemic kind of stripped that.
Yeah.
People were like, everybody else is on the same page. I have hopefully a chance that I can be a little bit more vulnerable, whether it's with your team or with your clients. That vulnerability opens you up to so much possibility.
It does. And it comes back to, if we're not really willing to look at it ourselves, there's no way we can articulate what we want. And goal setting has to start from right here, right there in our own hearts and minds and guts.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that is so, so true. Because unless we understand why, we end up doing what we fall into those roles. We're pleasing, or we're settling, or we're all kinds of other things around that. And unfortunately for us, that tends to be how we tend to set our goals. We forget. And that's why we have these things called SMART goals. And I love those and I hate those. I'll be real with you. But and it is because I'm like, oh, I got a really good juicy one. Ha ha ha. But we have to have that. And how does the stage of the business that we're in and the role that we occupy in our business align to the stage of our life and where we're at in our life? And I actually think that concept of that vulnerability piece and that veneer was trying to continue to keep them separate. This has allowed people to show up in a new way and be like,
yeah, people
say that, work and life are mixed. They are now.
Mm-hmm.
And people have really been able to try and keep them separate for a while. And I think that that's a huge thing to keep in mind too, is we can't keep them separate. So if my personal goals don't align with my business's goals for me, I have some decisions to make. It doesn't matter what role I'm in. I have decisions to make because I want to do this and I want to do this. And to your point, if I say yes to work, I'm saying no to my family. And if I'm saying yes to my family, I may be saying no to my work. And to be really clear about all of that. And it feels like a big gray area. However, if we know what we want, then we can figure out how to measure it, to your point, and we can keep going.
And what I really think we're going to see, and what we're seeing already, is that we're becoming an outcomes-based workforce.
Mm-hmm.
So as you're looking to restaff, or as you're looking to re-enter the market, you've got to know that you just proved to your entire workforce that there's a different way to do things.
Yep.
And if you don't understand their goals and what's critical to them, and possibly take into account your goals and what's critical to you, you are going to miss your opportunity to change things for the better permanently. And wouldn't that be an incredible goal for us to have as a collection of conscious leaders and conscious capitalists?
Yes. So I have a question. How do you define opportunity? We're going to shift a little bit because I think this ties into our goals. And we keep saying the word opportunity, and now I'm curious. How do you define an opportunity, and how do you know it's actually one versus, that shiny object? I don't call them shiny objects in business. I call them shiny objectives.
I like that very much.
Yeah.
You got to have some metrics. You've got to have some points to put it through, because listen, I'm a very dominant personality. I know that's incredibly shocking.
No.
But I tend to think in business cases.
Yeah.
Who are my stakeholders? What is it going to cost me emotionally, mentally, physically, financially to get through this? And what's the possible ROI? Listen, we're still humans. We're going to make decisions based on emotion.
Yeah.
Check. And you can Google yourself into anything from cancer to the next multi-trillion-dollar business within about 10 minutes.
Right.
But if you know what your values are and how you want your values to show up in your personal life and your business, and what your true, I hate this term, but your true BHAG is, if what you're looking at as an opportunity doesn't align with that, you're having to work really hard to get it in, hopefully you've got some friends that will tell you that you're full of shit and to take a minute, step back. Like, that is the best business tool ever, is people that love you enough to tell you that you're out of your mind.
Right. We need that. We need more of that. I'm telling you what.
For anybody that's listening, don't settle until you have that. If you need somebody to tell you that you're insane, I will do that for you.
I was going to say, there's 2 of us right here. Sign up, make a line. We'll cue you in.
I take business girlfriend calls all day long.
That's right.
Dream it out, get back to it. Tell me your crazy thing. And then breathe and go back into your day.
That's right.
You're going to have some priorities that were already there that you should be paying attention to.
So what's one value you weave into everything?
Humor.
Oh, yeah.
I am a smart ass dyed in the wool. And humor does so much. We actually make sure that we have one smart ass, one dirty mind, and one really anal editor on every project. Those are the things that you need.
I love it.
Through.
Yeah.
If you can put things through a lens of humor, for me, again, my mom still doesn't get me. We're 40 years in, we're still working on it. But humor is at least going to give you a moment to laugh it off before you have to roll up your sleeves and dive back in.
Right. Yes.
What's your value?
Well, you know, there's an elegance that I bring to, personally, there's an elegance that I bring to everything, because it doesn't matter how big the crash is when I'm walking in heels down the street. It matters that I get back up and keep going. The way you stand back up after is all about that. And so for me, it's the elegant piece is what I would say I bring to everything that has to weave in and out. By the way, there's also a simplicity, which means you can't, if you're overworking yourself or you're stretched too thin, then you're never going to show up elegant, because that stress and that white noise that might just be in the back of my head actually is like the cloud in that wonderful little, in Pigsty in Charlie Brown. Yeah. And that's, everybody senses that around you. So that's how I'm showing up, and I'm watching for that in the people around me. And then you bring that into Red Direction, where we talk about being bold. And so I know the way that I'm showing up to that is, well, can it be simple? Can it be regal? And can it get us to where we want to go? And how's everybody on the team showing up in those areas? Because if they're falling into a trap or a bad pattern, or a stressor has showed up that they're not handling very well, well, that's my opportunity to show up and help.
I love that bold, simple elegance.
Yes.
Very Audrey Hepburn.
Oh, it's true. There is a little bit of that. Oh, now I just want to watch Breakfast at Tiffany's.
And I will tell you all about the Breakfast at Tiffany's brunch that I made.
Oh, I can't wait to hear about that. Okay, that's so super great. And so this is how we show up. And it's really hard. Okay, I'll tell you what, when there's egg on my face, it's not always easy to be elegant standing back up after falling down. It's not. And especially if it's muddy down there, or there was no reason for me to fall down in the first place, but I just did, right? There's all of those pieces. And so that comes back to this courage. All right, here's how I am right now. And if I can't own that for myself, nobody else is going to listen to me. Nobody else is going to want to share a goal with me to achieve. And it's almost like I've gone negative before I've ever hit the starting line. There's got to be a phrase for that I'm not getting, since I'm not very sportsy, but I don't know. If you could have negative points in any game, there are times if I don't accept it for what it is, you start out in the negative.
I'm pretty sure that has something to do with Hogwarts, and so I'm extra out.
Yeah.
But you're so incredibly right, because like our major values are humor and love, and we talk about humor and love all the time, and a lot of people are very uncomfortable talking about love in a professional setting.
Yeah, they are.
When you think about love, what is it? It's caring for the person across from you just as much as you care for yourself.
Yes.
And it means caring enough to ask the hard question and to push in a direction that may be not what you would typically do. And to be able to show up from a place of love also means being kind to yourself.
Yeah.
And if people can see you fall down and love yourself and laugh a little bit and get back up, it gives them permission to fail forward. And I believe in failing fantastically. Go the most audacious thing you can do. Move from Vegas to Chicago when you're 17. Go open a belly dancing agency when you're a tiny white girl. Like, just figure it out. Build your wings on the way down. It's great.
That's right.
And it teaches you such grit and humility and love.
Yes.
If we can instill that in the people that are coming forward in our businesses and just smear professional love all over the place, this is going to be a much different world.
Yeah. Yes. It would. Yes. And I think we're headed in that path. I do think we're headed in that path. The more that we get to show up to, and we can't have things be separate. We're all facets of us get to show up together. I mean, hello, have you ever seen half of a diamond? Come on. You get all the facets in the diamond. Bring it, baby. I love that. And so I love everything that you're saying in that capacity. I want to do a quick recap because I think there's something in here that we can dig into that we haven't yet about goal setting. So we started out and we're talking about the importance of goal setting and that it has to be a part of who we are because we automatically lean into that in times of stress, uncertainty, and then part of the goal and going through the process of that is to make sure we know where the starting line is, who's on the journey with us, and that we're actually at the same starting line. What are we measuring to show progress? And at the end, what did we get out of it? What is that return? And when I say, what did we get out of it? Boy, does that sound selfish. And I'll be like, we need to have a little more selfishness in our world because otherwise we're not catering to our goals. How can we get to our goals if we aren't focused on us?
We're in business. We should be focused on ROI.
Yeah.
It's not a dirty word.
Hey, we're also humans, and humans need to be focused on ROI too. If you put bad stuff in, you get bad stuff out. If you don't sleep, there's results of that. If you do, whatever you're doing, it's the same thing. Whatever you're saying yes to, you're saying no to something else. And so we've got to say yes to ourselves also every single time.
Yep. But I think for me, the magic in getting to that goal.
Yeah.
Get it. And this is my super geek, but I love to break it down into micro chunks so that there's achievements over and over again. And your brain gets addicted to that serotonin and dopamine release. And what starts to happen is the more you can break your goals down and the more you get those releases, your subconscious mind starts working with you having to do jack crap.
Right.
And that is what gets you to your goals faster. And that's what people don't realize. It's not so much the practice of, okay, I've got to sit down and write my goals and blah, blah. No.
Like doing.
At this point, your brain is just going to take you over the finish line.
That's right.
That is exactly how I got there. That is exactly how I stayed afloat.
Yep. And
I will continue screaming this message from the tops of mountains, or well, I'm in Chicago, so like next to the lake, I guess. But that's what I do.
Right.
This changes lives.
Yeah.
You gotta love yourself enough to get the plan together.
That's right. And then stick and be committed to do the work.
Accountability, baby.
That's right. That's another thing. We'll tell you you're insane, and we'll also help hold you accountable. Anytime. That's what and we've got to do that because, and to your point about the small achievements and breaking it down and understanding what that looks like is so incredible. And that sometimes is enough. That discipline is actually a form of accountability, but some of us need something else. We need somebody to report into. We're servants in servant leadership in some way. And so if we need to have that external accountability to keep us moving forward and committed to doing the work, why not? We're going to ask our employees to do that for us. We're going to ask our peers within our same level in our organizations to do that. So why not?
Listen, if you don't have folks that you can strip down with emotionally from a business perspective, you better check your posse.
That's right.
Like, take a look around, find some badasses to get in your corner.
That's right. And they may not be in your organization, and that's okay.
That's okay. It's
okay.
Sometimes it's kind of better that they're not.
Sometimes. Yeah. So we've talked about all of this. Okay, I'm going to leave it at this now. Is there anything that has shown up for you, Marie, that didn't have a place in our dialogue that we should have said right now?
I kind of just want to tell people how incredible you are and how blessed I am to have met you. And just, we've had so many girlfriend moments, and we've really only known each other for a couple of months.
Mm-hmm.
You show up so beautifully and authentically and have been such a blessing. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Marie, for seeing that in me, because I see the same in you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, now we got to move on. Do you have jokes? We got to lighten this moment a little bit. Well, and this is what it's all about. We are modeling for you, everybody listening and watching. We're modeling for you this really showing up piece right now.
Yeah. Professional love, baby.
That's exactly right. Okay. Now, you've listened to us. Some of you are here in the live stream sharing in the chat. Thank you very much. We are glad to have you as part of this journey. And for those of you who will be catching this in the podcast stream and in our resharing over the course of the next few weeks, it's time for you to share your experiences. How do you set goals? When is a time that you actually had a system for goal setting that carried you through a tough time? It can be tiny and it could be galactic. It's whatever it is, the relying on the system in the time of stress, that self-trust that comes with it. I know what to do here no matter what is what we want to hear from you. And so tell us what you've learned, add your voice to the story, because it's when we're all sharing our experiences and we're learning from each other, it's how we can hone our skills. It's how we can show up better. It's how we can figure out who might be the next best posse member for ourselves as we're moving forward down our personal growth, professional growth, life path. Thank you for being here. And don't forget, if you like this, you have friends that will, you'll have colleagues that will. Share this with them as also, and let them stop by. Until next time.
Thank you for tuning in and listening to the Bold Business Podcast. If you have learned something from this show that will help you in your business right now, consider what additional impact you can get by subscribing to the Fast Track Your Business program. You owe it to your business to seek out new ways to achieve more while building a resilient and profitable business. Subscribe now. Visit fasttrackyourbusinesstoday.com. Special thanks to the Scott Treatment for technical production.